A BB548 family. You're tuned in to another Warriors Over Weasels. I'm your host, Busara. I don't want to waste too much time. I want to get right into our discussion because I have a lot to talk about. Time is precious. Attention spans are short. So I'm going to get right into it. Started off like we always do with an African proverb. A parasite cannot live alone. African proverb. I want to say that one more time. A parasite cannot live alone. African proverb. So I want to tie this, a parasite cannot live alone, into this discussion that I have titled Intellectual Mercenaries. And I like to start it off with a poem. I do a little poetry sometimes. Who will your degrees and diplomas put in diabetic comas, all in the name of Pfizer, or other white liars in white coats, confusing black faces to fight fires that's only burning white folks, while their own children melt away in lava. Wake up and smell the Java. Black Anglo-Saxons, you're imposters of European posture. You're being used as a condom, then thrown away like a condom. Once the secret agendas get accomplished, your degrees got you lost with a compass and assisting the enemy on their conquest. While your contributions become hidden figures. Same play, different hitter. I mean the same way, different nigga. Following in the footsteps of the master teacher, Dr. Amos Wilson, I'm going to use his term, intellectual mercenaries, to relay this message. He defined intellectual mercenaries as blacks who education is used to empower non-blacks while giving themselves individual material gains. Their education is used to get jobs, not to fulfill a collective cause, collective goal, or collective purpose. Education is used to prevent and solve the problems of the people who designed the curriculum. We can say with all honesty that the American curriculum is not structured to empower anything besides America in the American way, which is deceit, racism, imperialism, perversion, greed, overconsumption, sexist, chauvinism, cultural misappropriation, war, homosexuality, and violence. Look at all of the black doctors and lawyers of today, then compare it to the health and legal troubles black people face daily, and you will begin to see the contradiction. We don't become doctors to solve the issues we face or lawyers to create a code of law for our people, at least not the collective. There's always an exception to the rule. We seek these positions to live in suburban areas, to drive German engineering, to shop at stores that wouldn't allow our grandparents to patronize before the 1960s. This is why our health is failing, our wealth is limited to material trinkets, and our education make us of no use to anyone but the enemy. Dr. Amos Wilson referred to a fundamental dumbness that can be seen from the street hustler to the highly educated doctor. Both use their earnings the same way. Both enrich the enemy while crippling their community. Both see value in any and everything as long as it isn't African. Their investments are self-serving and not in the best interests of African people. This is not a coincidence. This is social engineering at its finest, or at its worst, depending on which end of the spectrum you sit. To avoid being duped into becoming an intellectual mercenary, one must be fully aware of the types of people they are dealing with. Without clarifying these vital areas, you will be an easy target for groups, organized groups, who feed off persons who have no clarity on their daily operations. When you just go with the flow, you don't know who created the flow, who is controlling the flow, or if the flow is more of a harm than a benefit. Not only will you not know these things, you won't even be inspired to ask the questions that will provide the necessary clarity. If we were to look at the goals of our people who enter into the dominant society's arena of politics or capitalism, we must ask ourselves, are their goals self-centered or community-centered? Who will benefit the most from the labor? Are they being used to suppress legitimate claims of racism? Are they able to apply their skills to help those with less who look like them? There is a wide array of questions we could ask ourselves and that we should ask ourselves when attending white-controlled institutions, universities, and places of employment. But we also should be asking, where are the institutions and curriculums dedicated to rearing the necessary minds needed to reverse the conditions we see or ignore before us today? Do we expect our enemies to fix what they don't think is broken? Or are we going to do for ourselves? It will be very crucial that we develop an educational curriculum loaded with lesson plans that tackle the issues that are staggering our people. However, this education shouldn't be based exclusively on what white children are learning. We can't make the mistake of treating black children as if they are white students with black skins. I don't know who said that statement, but it was so bright. We can't make the mistake of treating black children as if they are white students with black skin. They not only need but deserve a curriculum that caters to their uniquely African genius through designing lesson plans that are centered around areas of focus that we feel are important to our success. As sovereignty-seeking Africans, we will not only be able to advance our people, but protect them as well, in the present as well as in the future. Lesson plans will need to be compiled for all levels of learning, from nursery rhymes to collegiate levels and beyond. We must come together collectively to build these curriculums and the institutions that will house and that will disseminate the information. So in closing, we must take our destiny into our hands. We must go beyond displaying our arts and craft skills, making posters for marches and reactionary protests. We need to go into an intellectual group empowering quarantine, where we raise our children to benefit our collective goal. We open our businesses to benefit our collective group, and our very being is to benefit the long-term survival and thriving of our collective group. We must stop sending our brightest children to become intellectual mercenaries at institutions that don't benefit the collective of our people, whether they be prisons, PWIs, or HBCUs. We can't afford another generation of ego-serving, individualized black people. We need intelligent individuals who are dedicated through the very being of their existence to bring their individual skills and talents to the collective pot for collective advancement that will be felt by most of our people rather than by a select few. Let's shake the overly stuffed parasites that have leached off of our children, our inventions, our scholars, our athletes, our music, our dance, our socio-economic struggles, and our energy so we can use our ancestral gifts for our own collective benefit, generation after generation. Until the next edition of Warriors Over Weasels, stay in the presence of positivity as well as love. Stay African-centered. Stay in the pursuit of righteousness and be the example, not the contradiction. Busara signing out, a BB Fahodie family.